This is the fourth in the series of 4 awareness techniques that we've been doing from Anthony de Mello's book, Sadhana, A Way to God. And this fourth one is the hardest. So, I know you guys are kind of males that like a challenge. So the challenge for this week is, as you practice this one, just know it's the hardest of the 4. To recap, the first one we covered was just body sensations, awareness of our body, taking the first 5 to 10 minutes of meditation time to focus on different parts of our body from the head to the toes. And that really grounds you in reality. The second one was a variation of that, where you focus on a very specific part of your face, and it's a little bit harder. It does something a little bit deeper. Again, doing that for 5-10 minutes before you launch into the rest of your meditation time of, say, 20 minutes. The third one was observing your thoughts, and that's almost practicing standing back from your thoughts and watching your mind. And it's amazing. That really is a very effective way of stopping thinking. And it's good to practice that, have an intense week where you practice that every day, but use that one particularly whenever you're super distracted. It's a great way of calming the mind. And it almost illustrates the Romans 8 verse 6 principle that all of this is based on, which is the mind controlled by the spirit is life and peace, not the spirit controlled by the mind, which is how most of us live. Our minds are too strong, especially in our Western culture, but in our modern culture, our minds are out of control. It's like a certain muscle overcompensating for the rest of the body. And so our spirits need to learn to control our minds. And that place of awareness, just consciousness without thought, that's the spiritual realm. It's very accessible. And as soon as we go there, God's presence is there because God's presence is in us. And so today is the 4th, and it's breathing. It's observing your breathing. And let me dive right into it and read from chapter 5 of Anthony de Mello's book. Perhaps just to, touch on some biblical thought on this. In Genesis chapter 1, it says that God breathed into Adam and made him a living being. And we know that to be more than oxygen breathing. We know that to be the spark of life and also the spiritual nature of man. But interestingly, there's a strong correlation between physical breath and the Holy Spirit and the spiritual nature. For example, in John chapter 20, the first thing Jesus did after his resurrection, he came up to his disciples, and it says he breathed on them. Isn't that amazing? Just like Genesis 1. And he said, receive the Holy Spirit. And in that same moment, interestingly, he said 2 other things which go with the spiritual nature. He said, my peace I give to you. So there's a grounding in peace when we get into the spirit, which we also do by getting out of our minds and into the awareness. And secondly, he spoke of God's love and God's acceptance. And again, that's a key thing that we almost just bathe in when we're in the spiritual nature. So there's this correlation somehow between physical breath and spiritual breath. But really, this exercise is quite simple but hard. Firstly, Anthony de Mello recommends that you start with 5 minutes of just body awareness, because if you dive straight into breathing awareness, you're just going to get super distracted. So let me read an extract here from his book. He says, begin this exercise by spending some 5 minutes in becoming aware of sensations in various parts of your body. So that's what we've done before. Now move on to the awareness of your breathing. Become aware of the air as it comes in and goes out through your nostrils. Do not concentrate on the air as it enters your lungs. Limit your awareness to the air as it passes through your nostrils. That's quite important. Do not control your breathing. Do not attempt to deepen it. This is not an exercise in breathing, but in awareness of breathing. So if your breathing is shallow, leave it that way. Do not interfere with it. Observe it. So that's what you're doing. Each time you're distracted, return with vigor to your task. As I say, funnily enough, I've been loving the body awareness, just scanning my head to my toes, feeling different parts of my body. Just doing that somehow sharpens my attention, my awareness. It's almost like an antidote in itself to distracted thoughts. But this one is not as easy. In fact, before you get started, it will help if you resolve firmly not to miss awareness of a single breath. And then he says, continue this exercise for some 10 or 15 minutes. Most people will find this exercise more difficult to do than the previous exercises. And yet, from the point of view of sharpening awareness, it is the most rewarding of the three. It also has the effect of bringing calmness and relaxation with it. In attempting to be aware of your breathing, do not tense your muscles. Determination must not be confounded with nervous tension. So just kind of almost just think all the way through, just relax. You must expect to be consistently distracted at the beginning. No matter how distracted you are, the mere fact that you keep returning again and again to awareness of your breathing, the mere effort involved in doing this will bring beneficial effects that you will gradually begin to notice. Just since we're covering it, I'm going to just quickly describe the B part exercise that he says after you've done it a while, you do this more advanced one. So you might want to get to it later in the week. Once you've developed some proficiency in this exercise, move on to a somewhat more difficult and more effective variant. Become aware of the sensation of the air passing through your nostrils. Feel its touch. Notice in what part of the nostril you feel the touch of air when you inhale, and in what part of the nostrils you feel the touch of the air when you exhale. Become aware, if you can, of the warmth or coldness of the air. Its coldness when it comes in, its warmth when it goes out. You may also be aware that the quantity of air that passes through one nostril is greater than the amount that passes through the other. Be sensitive and alert to the slightest, lightest touch of the air on your nostrils as you inhale and exhale. Stay with this awareness for some 10 to 15 minutes. All right, so that's it, folks. Let's dive on in and give it a go.